Everybody say hi to the camera. All right. Okay, so according to the National Humane Education Society's website, there are over 7.6 million animals waiting in animal shelters to be adopted. We've all seen the Sad Pound commercials with the stereotypical Sarah McLachlan song that makes us just kind of cringe because it pulls at our heartstrings, but I don't think we all really acknowledge the severity of the problem that those commercials are trying to highlight. So I grew up spending time with my stepmom in a vet clinic helping out with the shelter animals, and I spent the last week at Pine Shelter Veterinary Hospital helping out with their rescue animals. So I've seen the problems firsthand. So today I'm going to tell you guys all about the problems and the strains that they're facing, and you're going to learn how you can help them out and what's going to happen if you do or you don't help them out. So now that I've got your attention, let's switch over to what the problem even is. So overpopulation has caused a heavy strain on our nation's animal shelters and rescue organizations. The organizations, when they take in a new stray, they send them to a veterinary clinic, and they get a full physical, they get all the shots they need, and they get neutered or spayed to prevent more overpopulation. And as you can imagine, this gets rather spendy because when you combine this with all the other expenses for caring and nurturing for them, it gets pretty expensive. So many people pose the question, why not lower the prices so more people get the animals, or why not heighten the prices so they get more money with adoption? Emily Lord, a nonprofit organization manager, did a study studying all kinds of different techniques of how people can manage their shelters to get optimal profits. And she found in a study that was published in Comparative Veterinary Technology Journal in 2014 that when they lower the prices, they're almost always faced with the problem that they either have to give the animal away for much less than what was actually put into taking it in, or they have to wait till someone will pay more, but then they're essentially spending more money to keep that animal, and they are wasting space that they could take in another animal for. So why is this problem important? This problem is important because the less money that shelters have, the less animals that they're able to take in. There's a constant flow of animals always coming into shelters, and there's always more and more strays coming in, and without a constant flow of funds, it's almost impossible to keep up with that. The National Humane Education Society also said on their website that there are over 70 million stray cats alone running around the earth. So if you compare that to the mere 7.6 million that are in adoption shelters, it just kind of shows that the problem is endless with the continuation of overpopulation. I interviewed Jess Dupuy at the Pine Shelter Veterinary Clinic. She was a certified veterinary technician with 14 years of experience, and she confirmed that there is indeed a huge gap between the amount of animals coming into vet shelters and the amount of people who are willing to come in and adopt them. She said that people would rather go and buy pedigree dogs from like backyard breeders and stuff, when she said in fact that these dogs have a higher disposition for genetic diseases and cancers. So it's actually not that much better of a choice. So with this problem, all the consequences go straight to the animals. With all the expenses that come into taking them, many shelters are forced to euthanize the ones that are there for too long so they can take in more animals. The ASPCA, or the American Society Preventing Animal Cruelty, on their website they showed that 31% of dogs taken in and 41% of cats taken in will be euthanized because they don't have enough adoptees or enough money to keep them. So imagine if we could band together and even drop that percent just by a few numbers. That would mean we are saving thousands of animals' lives. So the problem is apparent, but the question really is, who is willing to take action? There are so many things you can do that are really simple that you can do to help. You can do anything, like you can adopt or foster, you can volunteer, or you can donate. Anything helps, whether you give it a little or you give it your all. It just greatly improves their situation, and each of these different methods can improve it in a different way. If you decide to adopt or foster, you're essentially saving that animal's life depending on what shelter you're getting it from, and you are freeing up more space to take in even more animals. If you decide to volunteer, you are doing work and caring for animals that the vet shelter doesn't have to spend thousands of dollars on hiring people to do it. And if you decide to donate, you're addressing the problem directly and giving them more funds, no matter if you give them a little or a lot. So if you decide to do this, in order to do this, you need to get a hold of your local vet shelter or rescue organization. And no matter where you are, you're going to find one near you because it is something that is in almost every town. For plan of action, if you decide to adopt or foster, it's a simple process of them just evaluating your home and making sure you're a primary candidate to house an animal for them, and then you just get that. Adopting is a much better option than backyard breeders because you're actually saving a lot more money getting them, even with the adoption fee, because when you get an adopted animal, you are getting it with the spay or neuter, you're getting it with all its shots, and it has a physical so they know what's wrong with the animal if anything is wrong. If you decide to volunteer, there are so many ways you can help and help the cause. You can do things such as go straight to the shelter and you're able to help out with the animals, feed them, take care of them, and nurture them a little bit. You can also sign up to help with adoption events, which, as Emily Lord stated in her study, are really important because they put the animals out to the public, to even people who weren't even thinking about adopting maybe, and they can really bring in a lot of donations too. And if you don't have the time or space, like I said before, you can always donate, and it's super easy because you can go online to any website and find almost any rescue organization or shelter, and they will take you directly to where you can donate. So now you know how to help out. Let's talk a little bit about if we don't help out, what will happen. If we do, what will happen. Without any help to these shelters, they are straining to stay afloat. Expenses pile up with all the medical procedures that they provide and with all the supplies that they use to nurture and care for these animals. On miamidade.gov, I found out that Florida shelters are fighting to become no-kill shelters, and this points out the problem that a lot of shelters are trying to convert to no-kill, but it's really hard for them to convert to no-kill if they can't support the animals that they have and if they don't have the funds for it. Also, with the 70 million cats I mentioned earlier, many of them will not survive nearly as long as they possibly could if we could help them out. Obviously, we can't help them all out, but a little bit is enough. While they're not capable of helping themselves, we are capable of doing something. If we do something, the stress on these shelters are greatly reduced. It's known and proved, especially in Emily Lord's study, that they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these projects and promotions and organizations. And if Jess Dupuy is agreeing that there's a huge gap in animals that need adopting and people who want to adopt, maybe we should work a little bit harder on filling that gap and helping the animals that are affected by that gap. We can't give homes to all of them, but we can all try and put a little effort into helping. It's a lot to take in, but now you're aware of the problem and the strain that are happening on animal shelters and rescue organizations. You're aware of all the different things you can do and how you can do it, and you're aware of what's going to happen if we don't really do anything. We can all see a growing problem that's happening right now, and I don't think a lot of people want to acknowledge the severity of it. So to end with a National Humane Education Society quote, too many healthy living animals are being forced to be euthanized because backyard breeders and puppy mills are cranking out huge numbers of animals for profit. So let's turn the tables and try to help out the animals that need help.
Good.